it's morning for me. I'm up early to get episode 2 of Everything's Relative finished and out into the world. Hello, everybody. I'm Eve Sturgis, making a podcast, talking to people about the way that modern DNA testing has affected their lives. So before we start the next tape, I really want to thank everybody for their support of episode 1 and of my project in general. I didn't make much fanfare about it when I posted episode 1, but enough people were subscribed or following me on Instagram at Everything's Relative Podcast to know about it. And I got texts of support all day of people that listened and liked it. And that meant a lot to me as someone making this podcast, which is very rewarding, but it comes with a bit of anxiety as well. So thank you, friends. That really meant a lot to me. So I'm going to go ahead and roll the tape. Amy reached out to me with enthusiasm and welcomed me into her home on a rainy day this winter. So one warning to my listeners is that I was very sick when I visited Amy. She was kind enough to have me, and I sat far across from her on a wide counter. And so anyway, so the point of that is to say that I think that you're going to hear some sounds that are a little bit annoying, like my voice is a bit congested, and there's some times when I sort of laugh, which turns into coughing. So I hope it's not so annoying that you can't appreciate Amy's story, but I did want to give everybody a heads up that I know that's not the most ideal recording situation, but it is what it is. So here we go. So this is Amy, and I hope that you can enjoy her story and all the ways that it's similar and different from the previous one. This is Everything's Relative. I'm Eve Sturgis. This is episode 2. Here we go. Okay, great. Awesome. We can just dive in if it's okay with you.
Sure.
Cool. So I'm here with Amy, and you are going to tell me about your NPE experience.
Okay, so I think for like most people, my husband and I did Ancestry.com for fun. So we did the test, and his came back as expected. And I had grown up in a primarily Ukrainian home, and mine came back with no Ukrainian, no Eastern European, nothing at all. So it came back French and German, which my mom was, and then it came back Irish and Welsh.
That's so not Ukrainian.
So not Ukrainian at all. The good thing is we all like potatoes, so it's fine. So anyways, but we honestly thought nothing of it, really. I didn't know to look at matches. I didn't know really much about it. My husband, it was all under his email address. I wasn't paying attention to anything else. I just didn't think about it. Kind of laughed, said, oh, my grandma must have slept with the milkman, ha. Never thought about it again. Other than once in a while, we would joke about it, you know,
right.
Like someone would say, oh, you have nice skin. And I would say, it's my Ukrainian. Ooh, no, it's not. It's my Irish skin. And I would laugh and I didn't think anything of it.
And you didn't say anything to anybody in your family?
No, didn't occur to me. Was just like, whatever. And then my husband got an email from someone. Again, I didn't know there was even a match button. I hadn't really paid attention to what the test really was. So he got an email from a woman, and she was saying, I really need to talk to your wife. I also did my test, and we show up as matches. And we somehow, again, not thinking this through, obviously, thought, well, this must have to do something with my mom and that whole thing. So my husband forwards this email to my mom.
Oh.
Who says nothing about it. She says this must be spam. You can't trust anything on the internet. All these kinds of things. Never spoke to me about it. Never told me that Todd sent her.
Did you know this was happening at all?
No.
Okay.
No clue. Again, because he and I just didn't clue at all.
Well, when something, I actually just talked about this so much with the previous person. It's like when something is unfathomable, like it's just not on your radar. It's not on your radar, and I don't know. Yes. Like the absence of it is astounding.
Right. Yeah, and there's other things that after this, same thing. It's just like nobody thought about this. So in the meantime, I started getting friend requests from this woman, and I didn't know. Again, we hadn't talked about this. I didn't know this woman's name that had sent these emails that was the same woman that was friend requesting my Facebook. I'm just going to decline. So keep declining these requests. She'd emailed my husband one or two more times on the Ancestry site and said, I'm really looking, I think, for your wife, and I've been looking for her for a long time.
This has a sense of urgency or desperation.
Yeah, but he wasn't really saying much to me about it because we just didn't, we thought this is some crazy person. And our daughter is a former actor, and so we dealt with crazy emails and things from people in the past, so we just kind of brushed it off again. So one night, I did not know that on Facebook you can have someone can send you a message if you're not friends, and it goes into a separate little inbox.
Right.
Didn't know that.
Okay.
It was June. I'm upstairs. It's 10 o'clock at night. My husband's out of town. I'm looking through this. I somehow click on this inbox, and there's about 8 messages from this person.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Saying, I really have been looking for you for 11 years.
Oh, my gosh.
I'm pretty sure I'm your sister, and we need to talk. And I said, I don't have any sisters. I don't have any brothers. I don't know who you are. But what are you
Right.
What are you talking about?
This doesn't make any sense. So you have no siblings?
No.
Okay. Well, until
didn't. Yeah.
Up until that moment, you had no siblings.
I had no siblings. So I kind of just, I was irritated with this person. I thought, I don't know what you're trying to do. I went to bed, got up in the morning, more messages from her. And I finally said, what do you want?
Had you written back at all?
Yeah, just saying
you don't understand.
I don't understand what you're trying to say here. I'm not following at all. So the next morning, the email or the message is, hey, my dad, this is his name. I know that he had a relationship with your mom in 1968. This is where they were working. This is the town they were living in. This is, what I've been told had happened. My dad told me 11 years ago, and I've been trying to find you.
Wow. Okay. So it was those details that made you realize that this person was serious.
Right. So I was like, what do you want from me? Kind of thing. And she's like, I'm just so excited, and I'm so thrilled to meet you. And where do you live? And she's asking me all these questions.
She really wants a sister.
Yeah. And I'm like, whoa, hang on. I don't know you. I don't think I want to right now. And I think you're wackadoodle crazy. So anyways, she goes in and she had to wait.
She's certainly anxious.
Very anxious. But I didn't, I get off I finally, we exchange all these messages. She had too many details for it not to be accurate. Again, she knew exactly where they worked, what town it was in, and I knew those things to be true about my mom.
Yeah, that happened to me where it all seemed bananagrams until the mention of a neighborhood.
Yeah.
And it was nobody knows that neighborhood.
Yeah.
This is whatever this is, it's gotta be.
Yeah. And I grew up in Canada. This happened in Royal Oak, Michigan, and I now live in Los Angeles. And this person's contacted me from Texas.
Right.
And I grew up in a really, really small town in Canada. So, she had to know all this. There's no way that she could have even stalked me enough to probably figure all this out. So I get off, I finish messaging her. I call my husband. I'm freaking out. Call my best friend. I'm freaking out. And I'm what do I do? I don't know what I'm supposed to do with all this information. So then I was just really angry with my mom. And part of that anger was that my dad that raised me died 29 years ago. So I've been out without a dad for all that time. And he died with crazy health issues that I thought that I had inherited.
Oh, that's serious.
And I also we have a almost 22-year-old daughter, and she had some. These are all kidney issues, and she'd had some blood work done at one point in time a couple years ago, where her kidney levels were a little bit wonky, and I lost it. And I shared that with my mom. That, oh my God, I think she has the same, thing as my dad. Oh my God, he died when he was 46. Is she going to get married? She can have kids. I'm losing my mind.
This is horrifying.
Over these health issues. My parents, I was an only child. They tried to get pregnant for a year or more before I was born, or before I was conceived. And then they tried for 10 years after me to have another baby. So I'm a woman. And if I've slept with 2 different people in the same week and I'm suddenly pregnant and I hadn't been able to get pregnant all this time and I never got pregnant again, I'm...
Right. That's a different kind of science. That's pretty clear.
Yeah. Gonna put it together.
Simple science.
Yeah, gonna put it together. So my husband said, I'll talk to your mom because I was not able to.
And where was your mom at this point?
My mom, she still lives in Canada.
Okay.
In a small town. We've had a troubled relationship my whole life. I would describe her as a narcissist, absolutely, and most people would. So I just knew that if I tried to have this conversation with her, it just wouldn't. So my husband was very clear and concise with her. And
super supportive of him.
Yes, and had the conversation. I didn't talk to her after that for about 6 or 8 weeks. And then I flew back to Canada. I hired a therapist to sit with she and I.
Oh, wow.
For 3 days in a row for an hour and a half each time to facilitate the conversation.
Wow, so you really thought about this.
Yeah.
You really...
Yeah. I just know her. And I knew that there would be no way to get any answers. There would be no way to actually have a conversation without her trying to take it somewhere that she wanted it to go or to twist it in a way,
That to me seems so brave and so smart.
I mean, I don't know if it was brave. I would say it was for me the smart decision to the way to do it. We, had originally planned to go back to my hometown for like a week and a half, and we had a cottage rented and all this, but I wasn't ready to do that because I didn't know how to talk to the rest of my family or anything like that, and it was still too fresh, and I was too mad. So that was the best way to kind of go, okay, we've got 3 days. We'll talk about it. And then I'll come home and process what you said. And then we actually offered for her to stay working with that therapist for quite a while afterwards as well.
That's really nice.
But again, whatever. In the meantime, this half sister that now I realize I have is very communicative and wants to meet me and is so excited and she's gung ho, ready to go. Like let's do it. And she contacts my birth father, who's not as gung-ho at all, and in fact is very angry with her for messing with everyone's life.
So he didn't know that this has been an 11-year project for her?
No, because as it turns out, I'm not the daughter that he told her about.
Oh, no.
Yeah. The daughter he told her about was conceived before her.
It's not funny, but
exactly.
But it's
exactly. Apparently, her name is Hope, and we all just keep laughing, saying we're looking for hope.
The sister for hope. Yeah,
we're all looking for hope in this. So, and I'm between 2 girls. I'm the middle girl of this family, but there's someone out there still that we
none trifecta.
Yeah. There's none
of love children.
Yeah, love children. So there's someone still out there that we haven't found. So that's why I think my mom was super confused because she claims that she didn't know it was his, but he had told my half-sister that I existed.
Right.
And that he knew about me. He had gotten married, and he was working for a summer in Florida for an ad agency, had a little tryst with this other woman. She got pregnant. He knew she was pregnant. He found out that she'd had a girl, and that he named her Hope. Or that they named her Hope. But in the meantime, he went back to his wife. This other woman said, go back to your wife. And he had another daughter, so my older sister.
So the sister that I said I would wait until you were done with the story to ask questions.
No, it's a good one.
You're jumping in. The sister that found you, when she listed like living in this town and they worked together at this place, she was incorrect about that because she was looking for hope, or... He was sleeping with all the women he worked with.
No, they weren't at the same time, but he mixed up the women. Like he mixed the time, the place. I mean, he's 74 now, so at that time he would have been 60 something, and he had the woman but the wrong event.
Right.
Yeah.
It's hard to keep track.
It is hard to
get it.
So
I don't get it. I imagine.
Yes. I don't get it either, but So he had a daughter at this point. My older sister was an infant when I was conceived. It was a one-night stand in the back of a car after a party at an ad agency where my mom was modeling and he was working.
Very Mad Men.
That's exactly what he says. He said, if you saw the show Mad Men, that's exactly what it's like. So he was very upset with her because he thought, well, why are you messing with everyone's life? And she's like, well, you told me all this information. Like, you set me up to want to find this.
Right.
So
she was surprised that he was unhappy about it.
Yeah. She thought, she was ecstatic. She's like, I found her. And he's like, who'd you find? You found Hope? She goes, no, her name's Amy. So he was a little confused. She also then told her younger sister, so my other half-sister, and who was also not particularly excited by this whole situation. It was just like, why are you messing with everyone's life? And I was really angry with her too. Just like, because you just, every night you'd go to bed and you think like, can I just wake up and pretend none of this happened? Let's just go back to the way that it was and it's fine. And,
Yeah, I relate to that.
Yeah. But over time, I guess kind of, she kind of wore me down. So she would text me and email me every day and, good morning and how are you? Thinking, I'm great. I'm not great. You just totally destroyed my life, but so I'd set up a meeting with her. She was coming to California. Her daughters live in California. And then I backed out. I just was like, what? I'm not ready. I hadn't talked to my mom at that point. So I found out in June. This was probably in July, August. And July. And I said, I'm not ready.
Yeah, that's really fast.
Yeah. So then, I don't know. My husband was kind of like great and super supportive, but kind of pretty pushy with me about this whole thing. Like, this is your family. You need to at least meet them. Like, they're open to meeting you. You need to meet them. So in the meantime, I had emailed my birth father, and just said, hey, here's my story. Here's about me. Like, this is my life. And
surprise.
Yeah. And I guess more than anything, I just kind of want to know about your health. What am I looking at now? Because everything I thought that I had to worry about, I don't. So, which is great. But what's your scoop? And he kind of was like the same way, like just, hey, yeah, this is kind of really weird, and I don't know either how I feel about it, and yeah, I'd be open to meeting you one day, and here's all the health information.
Okay, so not rejection.
No.
But not super enthusiastic.
No, but then
which maybe you could relate to.
Exactly. He and I were on the exact same page.
Yeah, you're like, I know, right?
Yeah. In the meantime, my husband was kind of pushing me towards this, and then I went and saw a therapist, and they, same thing. They were kind of like, you really should at least explore this. They live 2 hours away from you. You don't have to have a relationship, but you should just see what this is. So I email my other sister, hey, hi, I'm your sister, and two nieces, and said, hey, I've never been an aunt before, but, hi, don't know what to ask you about, really. And so we set up a day that we were going to go down or up and meet them. They live in Northern California, Central. So my husband and my daughter and I, we went, and we decided that we would just go on our own. We have a son who's almost 21, and he has autism. And we just didn't know, he's high functioning, but I wasn't sure how I was going to explain who these people were to him, because he just knows that, his grandfather is in heaven, and that's that. So I wasn't really sure how to do that. So we just decided not to out of the gate, in case it never went anywhere anyway. I didn't really want to mess with him.
That 100% makes sense to me.
Yeah. So we drove up. I was freaking out the whole time, and I was meeting my younger half-sister. My other half-sister had already gone back to Texas, so she was really bummed because everyone got to meet me first.
Yeah, she's like, wait a minute, I'm the enthusiastic one.
I did this, and now, So I was going to meet my younger half sister and her husband, 4 nieces, and two of the nieces, their significant others, and so like
it's like a family reunion.
It's kind of, yeah. So first we get there, and I really think I'm going to maybe throw up. I mean, I'm just not sure how to handle this. And my biological dad wanted to meet me alone, separately. He didn't want to do it with everybody else. So we're meeting them the first day. And we get to the restaurant, and I mean, I don't really know what anybody looks like. I don't really know them. So, except that I'd seen a couple pictures where that my other sister had sent me, oh my gosh, we look alike. And yeah, okay, we do. So anyways, we get there, and there's nobody there in this restaurant, really. Like a couple of tables of people, but obviously not how many people I'm expecting. And they said, "Oh, wait, are you with Ashley?" And I'm thinking, Ashley. Oh, yes, that's be my niece's name. Again, I don't know these people. Oh, they're in the back room. So I open the door, and we describe it as a surprise party, except you don't know the people that are there to surprise you.
Yeah.
Like, we open the door to this room, and they're all like, "Hey, welcome to the family." I was like, oh my God.
Wow. Okay.
I need alcohol right now. Yeah. Because
thank goodness this isn't a wine restaurant.
Yeah, like I don't know these people, and they're all there to meet me and my husband and and our daughter, and I'm thinking, I'm terrified. I mean, it actually turned out hysterical. They're funny, and we all just like went and had some wine and laughed about my biological dad and his escapades, and they laughed about that, which was easy for me because I thought, I don't know how to handle this one.
Your dad, John Hamm.
Yeah, and my nieces were great with our daughter, and our daughter and my one niece looked like they could be twins.
Wow.
And then there was things that I would be doing, and they would say, "Oh my gosh, that's exactly like Sonia, my older sister." She and I look a lot alike. So it was kind of like cool, but super weird.
Super surreal.
Super surreal.
Did it feel like their open-heartedness and like openness and enthusiasm felt like really? I mean, that sounds like it was really nice, but to me, I would feel nervous for them.
Yeah.
Like they don't know you. Like I would be like, you don't know me. I could be
an axe murderer.
I might not be somebody you're so happy to see.
Yeah. Like it was weird. It was just weird.
Just weird. Mm-hmm.
So the next morning, I go to breakfast to meet my biological dad, and he's sitting at the restaurant, like on a golf course, and he's just sitting there. I'd seen pictures of him, so I knew what he looked like. Mm-hmm. And he's just sitting there waiting for us, and I really then thought I was going to throw up getting out of the car. And he gave me a great big hug, and he just said, "Welcome." We sat down and kind of just talked about it, and his story was the same as the story my mom had given to my husband about, how I came to be. And he was super warm and like easy. I mean, I was nervous, but it was easy. And he was very inquisitive. He wanted to know about me and things like that. And so I thought, okay, well, we went home, and I'm thinking, now what? Like, now what? So my best friend lives about 20 minutes away from my older sister in Texas. So.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Keep saying wow.
I know. So I decided, okay, well, I feel bad now that I've met everybody else. I should probably go meet her. So, and at this time, she's still like messaging me all the time. And in the meantime, now my younger sibling and my nieces and my biological father are, texting me from time to time. I get emails, the odd phone call. I'm like, okay. I mean, I'm not mad.
Right.
It's interesting. So I went and met her and her husband and my nephew, her son. And again, that was just like funny, weird, but oddly easy. Then, I got invited back up. My niece was having a baby, so they're, you should come and up and meet the baby and do all this kind of thing. And I said, okay. So
Yeah.
That time I went up by myself. I stayed at my niece's house. People started to call me aunt. This is my aunt.
How did that feel?
Weird, and then kind of okay.
Okay.
And we were at a winery, and my sister is like telling these people, they asked, like, I don't know how they asked the question of what we were doing there.
Sure.
Oh, this is my sister. Well, I mean, my sister that just found out I had, and we laughed. These people are like, what? And then she asked me, said, do you mind if I tell the story? I said, no. So we tell the story, and these people are like, oh my gosh, like, this is a television show. And, we kind of laughed again, but it was fine. It wasn't weird, really. I mean, and then we went up again, saw them again, and then it was Christmas time. So the time before Christmas, my biological dad had gone out with him and my stepmom for dinner by myself. And we just talked a lot about our lives. And then he was, the that day they asked if we would come for Christmas Eve. And I said, I actually used the excuse that I wasn't sure if our daughter could get off of work because I needed to sit.
That I would need to process that.
Yeah, I needed to sit on that one for a minute. So I came home, and again, my husband with much encouragement, it's like, Amy, like, let's just do it. We don't have to do it again if we don't like it. Although I was thinking, if I do Christmas, I'm kind of in. I'm kind of committed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And right before Christmas, it was my stepmom's birthday, so I sent her flowers. And, she was just all super touched and those kinds of things. And also in the meantime, my sisters had put pictures of all of us meeting on Facebook.
Oh, okay.
Things like that. Didn't label it, just there we were. And my dad, who raised me's sisters and things, would like the photos, but they didn't know what they were.
Who was who? Oh my gosh.
Liking.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Yeah, which stresses me out. And I keep saying to my mom, you need to tell them, like, when are you going to say something? Because I'll call them. She wouldn't. She said no, she wanted to do it. So as we get to Christmas. So we get there for Christmas. And, they're saying, okay, so we're all going in on the golf club for, Grandpa, all the grandkids. And we're, this is kind of how we do it. And, what do Liv and Spencer, our kids, like, what do they like? And I'm thinking, oh, okay, all right. We are in. So I'm buying Christmas gifts and things for people that I don't really know, but I kind of learning to know. And then I decided, okay, I kind of either have to go all in or I have to kind of bow out. So I decided to go all in. And I actually made my biological dad a book. And it was pictures of, like, my whole life story and pictures of me from the time I was born and as a child. And I wrote in things that I liked and, the games I liked to play and then, what I did. And then when I met my husband and our wedding pictures and pictures of our kids being born. And then at the end, I had pictures of all of us, like, with them.
Yeah. Wow. That sounds really nice.
Yeah. So, but we got there for Christmas Eve, and on the mantle was all the grandkids' stockings, all embroidered, and our kids' names were embroidered.
They were there too?
All in birth order. So they even had it all right. And, we pitched in on what we were supposed to bring. And
I want to have faith in nice, wonderful people. And what you can't see, because this is a podcast, is I'm making a lot of uncomfortable faces and grimaces.
She is. Yeah. After she says, wow. Yeah, I mean, it's super crazy. So we brought our son, and all the grandkids call my biological dad Buzzy. That's just their nickname for him. So I thought, well, I'll just tell him this is his Buzzy.
Yeah.
This is Buzzy, and this is Lindy, his wife, and I did tell him these were his aunts and things like that, because that I figured he could figure out that, but our son brought his Santa Claus suit, and had everyone singing, Christmas songs, and my niece was on the piano, and our son was on guitar, and everybody sang Christmas songs. We had a full-on Christmas dinner, gift
like the
exchange.
Waldens or something.
I'm serious. Because I've never had a Christmas like that. So, and our daughter, she's freaking out. She's like, what is this? Because we've never had any of this. So she's just like, I've only seen this on television. Yeah, I don't know what this is, Mom. But we did it, and we left, and all the way home was getting text messages from everyone saying it was the best Christmas that everyone's had.
Of course.
Everyone was like, this is awesome. This is great. And I mean, it was just so surreal. And then I got an email maybe 4 weeks later, and it's from my biological dad and stepmom, and it's to me and my 2 half sisters and my stepmom's son, so my stepbrother. And it's like, hey, we're selling the house. We have an offer. On a new house. Here's the address. La la la. Can't wait for you guys to see it. Love, Daddy and Lindy. And I was like, and I'm on this email. Okay. And honestly, that's it. They text me. I'm going up again. Not this coming weekend. Next weekend, we're going for the weekend, and we're going to my one sister's house one night, and to my biological dad's the other night, and going.
Okay, so another shoe didn't drop. Revealed some ulterior motive. Okay.
No, other than we finally, my mom, we'd given her a date that she had to tell my aunts, my 2 aunts and my uncle that I'd grown up with. You have to tell them. We had pictures all over from Christmas. My biological dad had posted pictures saying my 8 grandkids, and my kids are tagged in it.
Picture, right.
And I'm thinking, how
embroidered stockings.
Why is no one picking up on this? And again, back to because it wasn't anyone's.
Occurring to them.
No. So
there's lots of things on Facebook.
Yeah, but there's a whole group of people that look alike, and he's putting Christmas is great with 8 grandkids. My kids are the picture. So I finally did call my dad's sister, and just said I can be mad at my mom, but don't be mad at my mom. It really was a one-night thing. Here I am, hope you still like me. And they all, except for my dad's brother, they were all like, okay.
Wow. Were you nervous calling them?
Yeah. More actually nervous about my mom, the wrath of my mother, which I did get the next day. Because I didn't even bother to call her and tell her. I'd given her the day.
You'd given her the boundary.
I did, and she didn't want to, do it. So
you meant what you said.
I did. Yeah, she's never very good at that. So, I told them, and they were like, "Wow, are you okay?" And
that is a considerate question
that my mother never asked me or asked my husband if I was okay.
Well, I think that
it's all about her.
Well, that comes up that I've that's a pattern I'm noticing is that it's the people that ask how are you that stand out.
Yeah. She's my mom. She's supposed to ask me. She didn't. She was just more worried about what everyone was going to think about her. So, they all seemed to be fine. It was her birthday on Sunday, and I saw on Facebook they all wished her happy birthday. And I mean, she's mad at me because I spilled the beans. But
how old are all of them?
My dad's sister would be 74, maybe. And my aunt would be probably 60 something.
It's nice to imagine that by that time you are just accepting as a person about things that happened.
You would think
50 years ago.
Again, I would think it would be, and I said the same thing. In the therapy session with my mom, I said, look, I'm not mad at you. She was 20 years old, when she slept with this guy. And she was drunk at a party, and she was mad at my dad. And, if I didn't speak with every person I know that has had some kind of indiscretion in some way or done something really that they shouldn't have done, I probably wouldn't have very many friends.
Right.
You know, so I don't judge that. I don't like it, but I'm not mad. I'm mad that after he died, that she had 30 years almost to tell me, especially watching me agonize over the health stuff.
Yeah.
You know?
You may have had a relationship with a man and the health stuff.
Yeah.
Just sounds agonizing.
Yeah, and I had all this time that I could have had siblings that I never had, and actually known my nieces and nephews from the time they were born, and my kids could have had cousins because they don't have them. Now they do, but now they do. They never had, none of us have ever had that. It's like, why, I just don't understand, why, and she just claims that it never occurred to her that I was his.
Oh, okay. So her version of events is that she just insists she didn't know.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
And again, I'm thinking, if you tried to get pregnant for a year, you all of a sudden get pregnant after sleeping with one person another time, and then you can't get pregnant again for the next 10. At what point, I don't know. I'm a woman. I know how it all works. I'd be thinking like, oh, who's the daddy?
I just imagine she wouldn't let herself.
Yeah.
Think, that was just
Yep.
another thing that she couldn't
Yeah.
face. So it was not a reality.
Right.
Because she said it wasn't.
Right. So. Yeah. So I know my story is, it's funny because I read all the stuff on the page, and I have never kind of come out and said mine on there because I almost feel guilty. Because mine has been,
Pretty lovely.
Kind of, yeah. I'm super accepted. I'm part of the crew. Like my sister, for Christmas got me an ornament that, it's like first Christmas as sisters, and the other one sent me a mug that has our initials on it, and like they're all so like, all right, well, this is it, and here we are.
You're really taking family. I want to say take family seriously, but that's not the word I want. Like lovingly, or
I kind of think, they were all, my biological dad, he'd had the affair, or like obviously with my mom on his first wife, and then he was having an affair with another woman, and then, like he has had a history of not being super faithful to his spouses, except for oddly this last one. They've been together for 12 years or something, and everyone's like, nope, whatever reason, this is the one that stuck.
He doesn't have so much game anymore, maybe.
Probably. It's been interesting because my nieces and things have said to me, you've softened everybody up. Like, so I kind of think I kind of came in at a time when my sisters weren't getting along that great. One of my sisters was kind of mad at my biological dad. There was a lot of tension, and so I think my story kind of diffused all of that because I was news story. I was the
that's a new thing to focus on.
Yeah, the news flash, and I'm the shiny toy. So I think it kind of just happened at a time for all of them that maybe made it easier than if they were this perfect, tight knit, everybody's getting along crew. I think me coming in would have probably rocked a boat.
You might really be onto something.
But I think my coming in just gave everybody a new focus. And that's when, like, at Christmas, like, every single one of them said, this is the best Christmas we've had in years and years and years. And Spencer, our son, coming in with his Santa Claus suit and singing Christmas songs, and he had everyone doing the 12 days of Christmas. You know what I mean? I think they just kind of were like, oh, okay, well, these are new traditions to kind of, hopefully
embrace.
Yeah. So I think that's kind of why it all. And the funny thing is our son, we've never used the word grandfather or told him anything like that. But he came home and told people that he'd met his grandpa.
Oh.
Which is weird.
Yeah. So he was picking up on it.
Oh yeah. So.
Whatever he was seeing and observing and feeling.
Yeah.
On his own.
Yeah. So it's just, that's why I haven't posted it because I almost feel bad. I feel like, because I read so many that are so yucky.
There are a lot of hard stories to read on there.
Yeah. And I'm really lucky that my dad who raised me is not alive. I feel super fortunate about that because I wouldn't want to have to.
Right. You didn't even have to go.
Didn't
even have to go there.
Didn't have to go there. No. And that's the one thing that my aunts, both of his sisters said, that's the thing that they were really, that they would have broken his heart. So they're just like, okay, well, you know what? This is great, and we're happy for you, and we want to hear about them, and, you know, don't leave us out. And like, okay.
So it feels like everybody else is expressing like real confidence in the situation.
Yeah. Except for my mother.
Except for your mother. But also I'm curious how you feel at this point. You're kind of, I mean, it sounds like so much of it you moved through with like bewilderment and openness, but caution.
Yeah. I mean, I have probably the best group of friends who haven't gotten tired of hearing about it.
That's so helpful.
Yeah. That was more for me than the therapist was, for sure, because I don't know, I just felt like at least the person I talked to, all he really kind of, in a way, wanted to do was like just make me mad at my mom, which I was already mad. I didn't need any help.
Right.
And so I just didn't feel like maybe he was asking me the right questions, where I've been able to have friends that I can just, you know, go, I'm sorry, guys, but I got to talk about this again.
Yeah.
And my husband's been great, and my daughter's amazing about it too. So I think...
That's so lovely to hear.
Yeah. And even like my gung-ho half-sister, when I, you know, want to kind of say, like, I still find this very weird and freak out about it, she doesn't, she's really, I think she's probably apologized to me probably 200 times, you know, saying like, I am so sorry I did this to you.
This was not her intention at all.
But I'm happy that it happened, but I'm so sorry that I put you through that whole thing.
Right. Sort of an apple cart she wasn't thinking about.
Right. You know, and she feels bad, and she's like, it's always been my problem. I'm impulsive, and I didn't think it through. And I guess that's like what my dad said to her too. It was like, what are you doing? Like, you know, you didn't know if this other man was alive. You didn't know their story. Like, how could you do this to somebody? You know, kind of the way he presented it to her. And he was real upset with her.
All fair questions.
Yeah. Yeah. So now I honestly, it's pretty cool. You know, like like I said, we're going up next weekend, and, you know, we're taking my two nieces wine tasting, you know, one afternoon, and then we're going to see the new house of my biological dad, and then we're all going up for dinner, and then we're driving to my sister's the next day. I mean, it's weird.
Sounds nice and fun.
It's kind of neat. And I do find myself saying, oh, my sister or my dad, you know, because I know who raised me.
Right. You don't have to.
But when I'm talking
validate
to
things
people, you know, oh, we're going up to my dad's. You know, it's not like I don't have to say, oh, we're going to my bio daddy's.
Right.
Like, you know,
right.
I don't. I did that at the beginning, and now it's easier. And you know, when I gave him the book, and I said in the back, you know, something about, well, you know, I hope that over the course of time we'll have together that you'll be proud, you know, that I'm your daughter. And he cried, you know, and showed everybody the book.
That's very, very sweet.
You know, and he wants me to call him dad. I haven't done it to his face, but I, you know, do it like. And my sisters will be
that would be
like,
uncomfortable for me too.
Yeah, my sisters will be like, oh, you know, well, when are you going to dad's? Like, what time are you getting to dad's?
I have that too.
Yeah, and you're like, right, because that's my dad, right? Okay, you know. So it's kind of that, but I haven't done it. I haven't said it to him.
It's like a whole separate experience for your children to have to gain a new family as well. Yeah.
And we've lived away from Canada for 20 years. Not quite 20, 19, I guess. So our kids have only seen their grandparents like twice a year, sometimes once a year. You know, all of a sudden now we go up, you know, every couple months. So for her, Christmas was weird when she first walked in. She kind of freaked out when she saw the stockings because
I would totally freak out.
Yeah, she's never had them. She's never had stockings at her grandparents before. You know, we usually spend Christmas just here, like just us. So, and that was our big thing. We said we need to drive back Christmas Eve after Like we'll do the festivities, but we need to be home, for Christmas morning.
For your own Christmas morning.
We're not gonna deviate off that far from what our norm is. But
well, your traditions are important too.
Yeah,
it's important to take each thing, I would imagine, step by step and figuring out where your comfort level is for everybody.
Yeah,
you have a lot to consider.
Yeah,
a lot of comfort levels to take into account.
Yeah, especially
with your son.
Yeah, it's my nephew's birthday the other day, so it's his 21st, so I sent him, a check and a card and, have a drink on us kind of thing, and I'm thinking, I've never done any of this before. I've never had to. Didn't have any of them.
Right.
I had a grandnephew born. I was like, I need to take stuff.
Well, at least you can do something like that and then decide how it felt.
Yeah.
And then the next birthday that comes along, you can decide how you feel this time.
Yeah. And I think, again, maybe because I've never had them before, so it's probably a bit of a novelty for me too, to have nieces and nephews and,
Well, it's like you get to decide what kind of auntie you get to be.
I know. Yeah. So it's and they're...
You try something different every couple years or something.
Change it up.
You're like, now I'm the nice aunt. Now I'm...
So, and it was funny because this year for Christmas, because I grew up in Canada, and although now I'm not actually Canadian, I have 2 American parents, but I thought I was Canadian.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, and I'm not Ukrainian either. I bought them all stuff from our favorite store in Canada. So they all got like Roots sweatshirts and socks and,
Perfect.
kind of this Canadian thing, because I know that nobody else is going to get them that.
Right.
So that was kind of fun to be like, okay, well, this is, a little part of me.
Well, and who you are, whether it's scientifically real or not, is important too.
Yeah.
Like they clearly are confident in their presentation, but I feel like that's important for you to say, hey, I'm me, and this is my experience and where I'm coming from as well.
Yeah, and they've been, again, just so great. Like it's weird, and I've talked to other people, and the other day I went for lunch with the other 3 ladies, and I'm the only one who had a story like that.
Had a good story, yeah.
Well,
and I understand what you mean when you say that you're feeling guilty, but I also know that this is blowing up so fast that I think that it's gonna. I imagine, I don't know, but I imagine it's going to even out, like statistically, and that by nature of the group that you and I met through, it's a support group, and so many people are going to it because they're having negative feelings.
Yeah.
So it's a skewed perspective.
Certainly when I went in, when I joined it.
Do you feel like you have anything that you would want to say to somebody that is just finding this information out that you didn't know?
I would encourage, if you have the opportunity and if it's an option for you, to explore it. I'm so glad I didn't, even if it didn't turn out the way that mine has. Right. I think just having that knowledge of that part of who you are, for me, has given me a lot of peace.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And you didn't even, you're not even bringing these up again, but like the health history stuff. I huge. Didn't even, when I found out, that didn't even occur to me. Like there's so many layers that I've got that I'm still like, oh yeah, I gotta like call somebody about that, I guess.
Yeah.
And for older people, older than me, and older than you, like that's a much bigger concern. Like these things are very important later in life, and
that part was a big one for me, but only because my dad, he died young, and with so many complications and things. So for me, that was a huge one.
Do you feel like there is an age or a time in your life that would have been a good time for your mother to tell you?
Yeah.
You do?
Yeah. I really wish she would have told me when probably when I had kids.
Okay.
I think that, I'm not a grandma yet, but I'm assuming that when I become one, if I become one, hopefully.
No pressure.
Big pressure. But, I would assume that when your child's in there having a child, that it reminds you of when you had your child.
I can only imagine. Yeah, like
it would seem like to me that when I am having a baby, or when she's having a baby, it'll remind me of when I had her. Mm-hmm. And so I think there had to. I still don't buy, and then I operate very differently than my mom, but I don't buy that it never occurred to her. I just don't buy it. I don't believe it. Right. I understand burying things. I get all of that, but so many situations along the way that maybe if in that moment she didn't want to believe it, okay, so then what about, 10 years after they were trying to have a child, they found out he was infertile.
They did find that out. I mean, that's kind of what I was just assuming.
Okay, yeah. So they found out he was infertile. They were told he was infertile. So again, she said, well, we just thought that it had come along because of his kidney diseases and things like this. And I'm like, again, my brain maybe just works a little differently. I'm thinking that if, I find out that my husband is infertile and I have a child, like nobody thought, didn't occur to you that, right, I slept with that guy back then. When my husband brought him up, she knew exactly who he was talking about, what his name,
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, no, this is his name, and this is when he drove me home, and he used to drive me home sometimes, and we worked together, and he looked like this. I mean, she had a very clear memory of this man. So it's not like, I would understand if it was a situation where she was an unwilling participant.
Sure.
But she was very willing. So again, you find out he's infertile, it doesn't occur to you then. I have kids. It doesn't occur to you then. I'm freaking out about my daughter. Stuff. When I was 46, I honestly, the whole year I was stressed out thinking I might die this year. Like it was always in the back of my head because he died at 46. Mm-hmm. And you listened to me talk about that. You watched me freak out. You heard me, be stressed. At what point, could you not put yourself aside for a minute and put me first as a child?
That's really hurtful.
That's the stuff that's still, for me, I can't, I talk to her, twice a week. I listen to her talk about her appointments or whatever she's doing, but I will never, I just don't trust her the same way at all. She had opportunity to tell me. Not really makes me mad. Mm-hmm. So I think when I had kids, she should have told me. I mean, ideally, she should have told me after he passed away because I had all this time that I could have had. But, and her reply to that is, well, maybe it wouldn't have gone well. Maybe he wouldn't have wanted to have a relationship with you. That could have hurt you more. Okay, fine. Sure, I'll take that. Sure, whatever. But, once the whole health stuff came in and when I had kids, that's when you should have told me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And the fact that I had to find out because, someone came looking for who they thought was me, I shouldn't have.
And no one has connected with this Hope.
Nobody.
So there's
a
fourth daughter.
Amazing. We've tried. I know, the oldest one. So we've all done 23andMe as well, mm-hmm. because we thought maybe she did that. Mm-hmm. But, we don't know if she's alive. I know that my...
Hope, are you out there?
Yeah, Hope. Hello. My dad did look for her for a time.
Email me, evesturgis@gmail.com if you're out there, Hope, and you think it's you.
Yeah. My dad did look for her on Facebook and things because he knew her name and he knew her mom's name, and he looked for her for a little while after he told my older sister and never found her, and then kind of just, moved about.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, cool. Well, it's actually nice to hear a story that's not so sad. It's nice.
Yeah.
I think your story is as important and should represent the optimism that is present in these situations.
Yeah. I know I'm super lucky, and my dad who raised me is not alive, so he never had to feel the hurt.
Right.
My biological dad likes me a lot, thinks I'm great. We have a whole relationship that's emerging and growing and all that kind of stuff, and I'm super fortunate. And so for me, I'm mm-hmm. It's cool to be able to say the flip side of the story, because I know that most of them aren't, or not most, but a lot of them aren't quite as simple as mine has kind of turned out to be. Because it really is okay, well, what time do you want to be at the house?
That's so cool. Yeah. I mean, I would argue there's nothing simple about embroidered stockings, but I know what you mean.
Yeah, cool. It was a little freaky. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your story.
I know, it's a little weird.
No, I mean, they're all a little weird.
Yeah.
So far, no one's has been weirder than another in one way or another.
Okay.
So
that's good.
So thank you so much. I'm gonna go ahead and turn this off.
Okay.
That was just so awesome. Thanks for giving me your afternoon.
No problem.
One thing that I thought was really interesting was that Amy, when she contacted me, Amy said that when I got to her house, she said that she wasn't sure that I would want to hear her story because it wasn't sad. And you heard us talk a little bit about our experience that we share in an online support group. And a lot of these experiences are really hard for people, but I really want to capture the entire spectrum of possibilities. I really want to try and illustrate the diverse or how diverse this sort of phenomenon is. So I was actually so grateful that she reached out to me. I wouldn't want to make a podcast that was just sad story after sad story, heartbreak after heartbreak. I felt like I know that's an angle I could take. There's certainly plenty of those, but that wouldn't be an honest documentation of this experience or what is happening around the world. So I was really grateful that Amy reached out to me with a happy story to sprinkle in there to show you that while there's a lot of tears frequently involved, there also can be a happy ending. And the previous episode wasn't a not happy ending, but there was certainly maybe like a sadder tone or melancholy experience in general. So so there we go. So this is episode 2. Thank you for listening. Thanks for listening, everybody. Until next time, this is Everything's Relative with Eve Sturgis, available wherever podcasts can be heard. If you have any questions, comments, or stories of your own, you can contact me via email, eve@everythingsrelativepodcast.com. You can follow along on Instagram at Everything's Relative Podcast, and you can hit me up on Twitter at Eve Sturgis. This episode was produced by Eve Sturgis and Kaylin Egan, logo designed by Ivy McNally, and the music was used with permission by Goodbye the Band.